I've tried to go hiking twice since the PCT and I have quit both times. I guess this is the point where I give up on hiking, and the following is just the footage I've taken on these two trips, which are both quit pretty much on the first or second day. So that's all I got. Enjoy it, and there probably won't be any more videos.
On the trip, there's a lot of dead trees in places. A couple of reasons for that. For a start, 52% of land out here has been returned to reserve land.
Alright, start of my first section on the Te Aroa. Te Araroa, if I say it properly. I've just been dropped off at the top of the South Island about 2 minutes ago. It's probably 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I spent 6 hours on 2 different ferries today to get here. It's been a rather bleak and rainy day today, and I'm straight into a hill climb. About 1,200 feet or a few hundred meters, but what better way to start than a wet, muddy hill climb? Here we go. Well, not exactly the biggest first day on trail. I have done approximately 6 kilometers, or I've forgotten miles, so we're going to do these videos in kilometers. So I've done 6 kilometers, about an hour and a half from when the ferry dropped me off. Actually came up on a family that were doing, well, they're doing this Queen Charlotte track that I'm on at the moment, but they're slack packing it, so they have a boat which takes their pack and everything between stops. So I could have cruised along and chatted to them for a bit, but as you might be able to hear, it's raining. It's been raining since I got here. It's been raining all day. It's supposed to rain all week. So I suspect I'll be the only person out here for a while. But I have my own personal campsite by the beach, and I guess I'm gonna have a really early night. Exciting stuff, I know. Well, it's raining quite hard right now, and I'm in my brand new, very expensive Z-Packs duplex tent, and it's raining inside the tent. Not quite sure why. It shouldn't be, but there's a pretty steady mist coming down from the top with nothing touching it. Either it's wetting out and the water's working its way through, or it's hitting so hard it's somehow coming through the fibers. Or most likely, probably there's a layer of condensation on the inside, especially because I cooked dinner in here. And the rain is hitting so hard, it's hitting and spraying that down on me. Either way, it's raining outside the tent and inside the tent. Excellent. That was a particularly rough night. You might even say it was the roughest night I've had on trail, or on this trail. It is the only night I've had on this trail so far, but definitely the roughest. Probably the roughest night I've ever had on any trail. What went wrong? Not that much went wrong, just not a lot went right. I set up camp only 6 k's into the trail because the next campsite was not for another 15 or so. I didn't feel like doing 21 k's after 4 o'clock on the first day. But what I didn't realise was it doesn't get dark until 9 p.m. I always set up at about 5:30. So I had a really fun 3.5 hours of daylight in my tent, trying to sleep while it was broad daylight. But that wasn't the biggest problem. It rained a lot, as some of the clips I took, it actually rained inside my tent. But I'm not actually that annoyed by that anymore, because it's quite wet here in New Zealand, and it started raining quite heavily, like sort of tropical torrential rain. And that was really what was making it rain inside my tent, because it was hitting the tent so hard that whatever moisture was built up on the inside, be it condensation or just moisture seeping through the material, was misting down on me. So it eventually got hard enough and unpleasant enough that I just resorted to hiding under my sleeping bag so I wouldn't get wet. It's a down sleeping bag. They don't provide great rain protection, and they're not real great when they're wet. Fortunately, it was only a sort of fine mist coming down, so it didn't actually get too wet, and my body warmth must have dried it out. However, that wasn't the end of it. Sometime after dark, around midnight or so, it got really windy. Extraordinarily windy. So much so, I was actually concerned the tent was going to collapse in the pouring torrential rain, leaving me in just a shit show of pouring rain and cold and darkness, with everything being soaking wet, and a few kilometres to any kind of shelter at least. So fortunately the tent stayed standing, so I'm actually kind of proud of that little tent now. While it didn't keep me perfectly dry, I did stay comparatively much drier and much warmer than if I was outside in the rain. As you can see, day 2, it is still raining. It hasn't actually stopped at any stage yet. It's gotten lighter at times, but it hasn't actually stopped at any stage. So, it's kind of my own fault. When I got the ferry from the North Island down to the South Island yesterday, it's about a 3-hour ferry, quite a large one. I didn't realise they were going to make me check my pack. I thought I'd be able to carry it on. Instead I had to check it. The way they were doing it didn't really allow for me to stop and pack it down properly and put gear away and kind of protect it. It just kind of got thrown over the thing and kiss it goodbye. So I made a deal with a god that I don't believe in, that I would put up with a week's worth of rain if my pack would come out the other end with at least all my gear still intact, not broken, not missing. So I guess this is really on me. Oops. Right. I would just like to say, for the record, that I'm so blessed to be out here doing this. I'm so lucky. I'm privileged and hashtag living my best life. Fuck that. Honestly, this sucks. It's raining quite a lot still. Everything is soaked through. My rain jacket completely wet out. Rain gloves completely wet out. I know you can't see the pants I'm wearing. I assure you I am wearing pants. They're actually a lightweight hunting rain pants, but my legs may be the only thing dry at the moment. Maybe, it's hard to tell. Shoes are soaked. Plus side of that is I don't have to worry about dodging around puddles or rock hopping through creeks. I can walk straight through them now. So basically, everything is soaking wet. It's cold. And I'm the only idiot out here. On the plus side, there are a lot of lodges along this trail that I didn't know existed. And there's one probably about 10 kilometers from where I am now, which sounds pretty appealing. And I think I'm just gonna death march these last 10 Ks. I think I'm about 10 for the morning. Just death march these last 10 and then stay there for the night and try and dry everything out. Because the thought of trying to get my soaking wet tent out of my soaking wet pack and then try and get into my soaking wet tent in my soaking wet clothes and try and establish some kind of dry, warm place to sleep for what, the next 3 days till it stops raining. not that great. I am mighty stubborn, but I'm not stubborn enough to just suffer through this for the sake of suffering through it. Not when there's a place with apparently a hot tub and cold beer in 10 kilometres from here. That sounds much more appealing, so that's where I'm headed. In case anyone is wondering why I'm out here, or actually, well, fuck, I'm wondering why I'm out here. What exactly I'm doing. I think I mentioned briefly yesterday, I am on the Te Araroa, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, trail in New Zealand. I'm not through hiking it, I'm just doing a section. Start at the top of the South Island, and I've got 4 weeks off work, and I'm just seeing how far I get, or how far I even want to get. I swore black and blue on the PCT that I'd never hike again, and this hike is a bit of an experiment to see whether that still stands, or whether, like I suspected on that trail, that section hiking was in fact the way to go. That's what we're going to try and find out. I'm about to walk across a bridge, and I'm going to see if we lose this phone off it. Otherwise, you might get to see a bridge. Very exciting. Ooh, got a bit of wobble to it. The creek down there. Definitely likely to lose my phone though. But that's about it. Bouncing my way along this bridge and trying to stay warm. I can't actually stop moving because it does get very cold very quickly. So yeah, I think I've bored enough of you by now, including myself. So I'm going to keep death marching and trudging. It's actually stopped raining. It's 11 AM. I'm not going to say the weather's clear, but it's actually not raining. I'm only about maybe 2 kilometres from the saddle where I take the road, and unfortunately I have to hill climb to the saddle and then follow the road that goes over the top down to basically water level, or where I am now, see the water, basically sea level, to get to this resort. I mean, maybe if it's going to clear up I could just push on, but what's genuinely scary to me is how sore I am currently after only maybe 5 hours of hiking this morning. Maybe not even that, to be honest. But yeah, coming off on 20 Ks, and I'm insanely sore. My legs are killing me. I haven't sat down, so I've just been death marching this whole time. It's just scary to think how much conditioning I've lost by doing absolutely nothing for the last year and a bit. PCT, I used to do 50 Ks a day comfortably, but looks like 20 is going to be a little painful for me today. And this looks like it's going to be home for the night. What's really cool that you can't see here, we can pretend that dark patch in the middle is one, but it's not. But there are actually a bunch of stingrays in the water here. I saw them from up the hill and thought they looked like stingrays. But I wasn't really sure that they were until I got down here and lobbed the rock near one and watched it take off. So about 4 or 5 stingrays just floating around in the water here, shallows. It's pretty cool. You can actually see them from here. See one of them in the middle there, another one up behind, and there's actually about 4 or 5 that I can see. But yeah, little stingrays or manta rays or something. Not something you see every day. Howdy. It is Christmas Day, and I am up here in Kosciuszko National Park, taking my backpack for a walk. The last couple of months since I've been home from the PCT, I've been working in Sydney underground on a tunnel job, about 70 hours a week. And when you spend that much time underground, the idea of being outside and outdoors becomes very appealing. Unfortunately, I did forget how much this sucks, carrying a backpack and doing this. I'm definitely not ready to be back out here doing it again just yet. So what was going to be a 4-day trip out here, There's there's definitely the 10 highest peaks in the country in this area, and I believe there's actually 16. I was going to try and summit them all. As you can see from the area around me, it's not exactly a big ask because we're not very high. It's all, the highest peak, Kosciuszko, is around 2,200 and something meters, which is, let's call it about 7,000 feet. It's the highest point in the country, so not that high. And all the other peaks are around the same height, and there's just kind of saddles and things in between. So from underground where I was working, it seemed like a good idea to come up here and do that. But getting up here, I've already decided to pull the pin. I'm just doing this 22 kilometre or 13 to 14 mile loop. Just carrying an unnecessarily heavy pack for it with 4 days worth of food and provisions and all my gear for what's essentially a day hike now. Just decided, even after driving 6 hours here from Sydney, just got here and went, yeah, not really feeling it. So even though the weather's beautiful, as I said, it's Christmas Day, so for us it's the middle of summer. Scenery's beautiful, but yeah, I'm not ready to be out here doing this stuff again. I'm just gonna do this day hike, get back in my truck, and start heading back. And there we are, on top of Mount Kosciuszko. I am up on top of a podium at the moment, so I'm trying not to fall off. I do hate heights. But the tallest point in Australia, 2,228 metres.